United topic, okay? Do not forget to like this video. Let's get to a like goal of 200 likes. Go Bulls. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. And yeah, just don't forget to like. So let's get to it. Erik Ten Hag, Man United. ESPN, right? They were the ones who leaked this information of this decision. And first of all, I think Man United are cornered to make this decision. Because if there was no skepticism towards Poch, I honestly think they would have gone with Poch straight away. But since there was a lot of outroar, in my opinion, they had to say, let's get Erik Ten Hag a chance. And in my opinion, thank God they did. And I think Ralph Rangnick will have that counseling role, but it's shortened. It's shortened because there is skepticism at Man United if he is the man to make those decisions, which is understandable. Right. Which is understandable because he didn't get the top 4 guarantee maybe. So what's your opinion? Quick opinion on Erik Ten Hag.
Well, here's the funny thing. I think if you're a United fan, if you're a United supporter, the biggest wish you likely have at this moment in time is the Glazers getting the hell out of the way, right? 1, and 2, that Woodward, and obviously he's already gone, but that Woodward, never makes a calculated decision or whatever for United ever again. So that in and of itself, okay, if I were to put all those guys in a room, the Glazers and Woodward, who's gone, but if I were to put them in a room and say, who would you like as boss, right? I'd pick Poch, right? I'd pick Poch, right? Yeah, why? Because some of it makes a whole lot of sense. He does he's good attacking football, got the hard pressing situation, high energy, but he also hasn't really been insanely successful. I mean, Tottenham was amazing. What he did with Tottenham, what he built them up to be. Yes. But at PSG, you could basically say with what he's got at his disposal, he's kind of not been that phenomenal, not great. Okay, so that's kind of in my mind, and this is how I've rationalized it. That's like the Woodward United board pick. Now, what I like to see is the Ten Hag, which I know is kind of like, I've seen a lot of detractors to it, and I understand it's like we treat Erik Ten Hag like he's like this Wonderkid boss, but he's the same age or right around the same age as like Pep Guardiola. He's right around the same age as Poch. He's been around a while, right? And you could also make the argument that he really hasn't been at a high level, year in, year out, testing his mettle. Now, that's not true because obviously Ajax has been pretty dang good in the Champions League and beforehand. But what it comes down to is the way I think about it is if you're going to put Poch versus Ten Hag, I feel like Ten Hag is the more footballing approach, the more culture. If you believe culture needs to find its way back into the United vernacular, and that United is being run like a publicly traded company it is in the United States, I think it's MUTD in the United States, and the stock hasn't done very well, then I believe Ten Hag is the right pick. Now, when it comes down to the footballing, there's similarities between Poch and Ten Hag. There's also similarities between Poch and Guardiola, who he coached under for 2 years at Bayern. So I'm really excited to see that, but like I don't know tactics as well as you do when it comes down to it. So I'm really going to be interested if he is given, if Ten Hag is, and Fabrizio Romano has come out and basically said, he essentially is the guy. Just the I's need to be dotted and the T's need to be crossed. If that's the case, he wouldn't be doing it, I'd imagine, if he didn't have control to kind of clean house. And there's a lot, if you look at what he does with Ajax, there's a lot of cleaning house that likely has to be done, right? So I like it. I like the pick. I think it's hard. I think they need to get him in sooner rather than later. I think Ralph Rangnick likes him. I mean, they're kind of cut from a similar cloth in that sense. So yeah, I think he's the man.
So I think first things first is, I think Erik Ten Hag leaves Ajax in the right timing, because what happens? Mark Overmars has all those allegations and he leaves Ajax, And then Erik ten Hag is like, my guy is gone. The person that I make transfers, I make decisions is gone. So I'm not going to be accountable to the mistakes that are going to come because Ajax has dipped ever since. This is something I have noticed, like from the back. You can see even in the league, I don't think. Look, let's see what Untelar does and what happens there. But I think Erik ten Hag is like, I need to go. It's time to go. And Ralph Ragnick being there, kind of being the Mark Overmars at United that wasn't there a year ago, wasn't there 2 years ago. So I think this is the perfect timing. And you said it, culture. And this is what Erik ten Hag needs. He needs to control inside the pitch and outside the pitch, because total football, to play total football that he plays, everyone involved as an 11, you need to pick the ideal 11. And I am sure any transfer that will come in from Man United will be dealt and would be said with an okay of Ten Hag. And that's what United need. Accountability, okay? No one is accountable for the problems. Who does the wrong transfer of, like, let's say Maguire? Who's accountable? Is it Oli? Is it Oli that left? Who's accountable for this transfer? So right now, for me, I'm hyped because I do think a lot of Deadwood, okay, they were going to leave the club regardless. Like Juan Mata, okay, Phil Jones. I have here in my notes Lingard, yes, Cavani.
Just say it.
Pogba.
Just say it.
I don't think Maguire's going to leave. I don't think Breton. I think Maguire is going to lose captaincy straight away. Erik ten Hag arrives. He says, no, you ain't my captain. I think that's the first thing. Now, like, what I can't predict is how does Maguire react towards that, okay? I don't know if he's embarrassed and he's, okay, I have to go now. This is not, I've been diminished to the place that I am not a leader anymore. It doesn't feel the same. This can be a trauma for a player. But I think that's what's going to happen to Maguire. He can become, indeed, a very good role player at Man United, okay? But I think he'll lose the starting position next to Varane. I think, yes, for sure, Erik ten Hag will get a centre-back straight away. And I think De Gea is in trouble because the ball-playing goalkeeper role is crucial in Erik ten Hag's system. And another thing, too, Ronaldo is not. I don't think Ronaldo's in risk, Breton. Honestly, because for Ajax to be successful, they needed players that understood the Ajax culture. Daley Blind was there. Daley Blind was there. They had Tadic was there. Haller was there. Experience was needed for the Ajax success. And I do think for Man United's success, they need players that understand the Man United culture. And I think Erik ten Hag will keep those players. Okay, so, and he'll do his own one. So, yeah.
Yeah, but there's some good shouts here because, we're gonna get to them all. But like everything you're saying is pretty right. I mean, Daley Blind, you could even make the argument that he's been like one of the most important players under Ten Hag because everything essentially does start with him, right? They build from that back, and he's almost like their deep playmaker with decent defensive abilities. But he can also play on the left, which I believe he's been playing left back quite frequently this year in order to help facilitate the attack. So what I really like about Ten Hag is that tactical flexibility, right? It's not rigid. It's not almost like set in stone because he's made some alterations. And while I agree with you that Mark Overmars kind of being the overseer of everything, taking the business off of the plate of Ten Hag, that type of thing, that really worked well. I also agree that it could work with Rangnick. Yeah. Fun fact, I believe Mark Overmars was actually part of Erik ten Hag's first successful post, which was at Go Ahead Eagles. I think he was only there one season, and they earned promotion, and then he ended up leaving for Bayern. And I think Mark Overmars was there at the exact same time. But yeah, so tactical flexibility, like one of the things that you have to almost shout out here, and I've already lost it. Where the heck is it? Is that, it feels like, and I partially agree with you about Ronaldo, but it feels like 90% of the squad doesn't fit into kind of what he's currently doing, whether it's the 4-3-3 or the 4-2-3-1 or whatever Ten Hag is, up to there. Well, that's true, but there is the ability to kind of invert it, to kind of change different roles here. Like, I don't think Bruno, you're going to have to learn. You're going to have to deal with Bruno. Bruno's going to have to work on ball possession, which I believe he's actually pretty good at. But
he's going to be good with him. I think
and Maguire, and frankly, he's got a contract to 2027 now, so he's there whether you like it or not. You're going to have to make him work. But I do agree. One of the biggest things that needs to happen is he needs these role players to come in fast. That center back you talk about, right? De Gea, that might be able to be dealt with over time, but right back, I think Luke Shaw is going to play a big role. I think Diogo Dalot has a massive role potentially to play, or they're going to have to find a way to provide him with ample competition, right? And we can talk about who we think. But the biggest thing remains, right? And it's that DM. It's that defensive mid, okay? Can McTominay shoulder the load? Can Fred? Can Modric? Can any of these guys? Probably not, right? Probably not when all is said and done, because they need to be dynamic. They still need to be able to play a pass. So yeah, do you bring a guy? Who do you bring in? Do you bring in? We'll save on that. Who we think and where it's going to go. But
I think McTominay's in the ropes. Yeah, I agree with you. Sorry.
It's a degree of like football manager that like needs to be played here. But realistically, if they come in and they throw money at him, right, and they just throw money at him, regardless of whether or not they've got Champions League or Europa League or whatever money or any revenue at all coming in the door, you almost have to see whether or not Erik ten Hag can spend money, and or those above him, the footballing minds, if they're left to be, can spend money above him, because Erik ten Hag at Ajax, I think it was something like in all of his transfers over the last 4 seasons after that 2018-2019 semifinal run, okay, in the Champions League, he's net like 200 million euros in gains for that club. And United ain't that team. United is not that club right now.
That's what must be so crazy on Erik ten Hag. Imagine if he didn't sell those assets like their league, Frankie. Donny went to United. So, yeah, that's the first things first. Like, I think Donny finally is going to be up with his value, okay? That's the first obvious player that loves the arrival of Erik ten Hag. The second player, I got to say, it's not surprising to Sancho. Sancho! If you need a player that needs direct goal involvements, creativity on the wing, who's being that right now for every top team in Europe? It's Anthony. And Sancho can bag the assists and the goals just like Anthony. I believe in him. And I think with Erik ten Hag, that will happen. And I will compare Bruno Fernandes with a bit Tadic in the goal involvements in terms of numbers. Both players have high numbers, and I think the problem with Bruno Fernandes is that he never has a proper manager that just tells him off, okay? He never has a voice that is like, look, I know more than you, and this is what's going to happen. And I honestly think he's a really good guy, and I think he adapts. I think he's a really good team player, but you need to have a boss. You need to have a boss. And Erik ten Hag, sorry. Yeah.
I was going to say a little tongue-in-cheek, but I thought Ronaldo was that boss.
Yeah, but the captain. Who's the captain? Sure. Yeah. So it's like, who's the captain of this ship? But like Erik, that's why I think first decision, Maguire out. So I think, seeing here my notes, Sancho, gonna look incredible with Erik ten Hag. Donny, gonna look incredible. You mentioned Dalot. I think he's gonna be good too. I think Fred is he's got a role to play if he wants, because he's a very workaholic, okay, in midfield. He's often criticized, and he shouldn't be, okay? I don't think he's the problem at Man United in midfield. Then
he's a useful scapegoat.
Exactly. Elanga, I think Elanga with Erik ten Hag might go very well. Varane. You mentioned Blind was one of the best players with Erik ten Hag. Let's imagine with Varane the possibilities. And that's why I think Erik ten Hag for sure won't risk it going bad with Varane at the start. And he will get another center back. Okay, that we'll get to it. So who? And the other player I want to say is James Garner. I think he's gonna come back from loan, and Erik ten Hag will be like, okay, this guy is more than good enough to be on the bench of Man United and to start maybe in a couple of these games. So definitely the chance. James Garner deserves it. Okay, so yeah, those are the players I think are gonna improve. Yeah.
I mean, did you mention Luke Shaw in there?
I don't know, Breton. I'm on the fence with Luke Shaw. I am. I hope he does. I am more hopeful than Maguire, obviously. But I really think that Alex Telles would also be a good player in Erik ten Hag's system.
I mean, I think you actually have a little depth there. I mean, because let's if you look pretty much at every one of his squads, whether it was with Ajax or when he was at Utrecht, it is a very progressive squad. They lead the league in pressing, progressive carries, progressive passes, really never going backwards per se. So Luke Shaw is one of the most progressive in the league at left back and could continue to be so. But yeah, there's obviously limitations to that. He still has the injury history, though he's been better over the years. And you almost have pretty decent depth beyond that with Telles behind him. But I think he could serve right away because we need to remember here, they could throw money at him all he wants, but to come in and replace 10 players in one season, in one off season or something, that's completely unrealistic. Just ask anyone that's tried this previously, or just ask, Solskjaer how much was spent on, AWB and some others that are going to be kind of cast off. Because I don't think Wan-Bissaka, I think he's one of the bigger detractors here too, because you just...
Exactly.
He's possession based, and it's not going to work.
I completely agree. Bissaka, if you say to Man United fans, 140 million right now, okay, you give it to Erik ten Hag instead of getting Oli with Maguire and Aaron Wan-Bissaka, I guarantee you every Man United fan would believe that Erik ten Hag, with those 140 million, would do a better job than Oli did with Maguire and with Aaron Wan-Bissaka.
Yeah, but I gotta say, you went down this rabbit hole a little bit by just mentioning James Garner, mentioning Anthony Elanga, right? What I would love to see, and I know when people talk about Erik ten Hag, they think of what he's done recently with Jurrien Timber, what he's done with Divine Wendt, what he's done, previously with a lot of these Ajax boys. And a lot of that has to do with the roster turnover, and it's probably going to happen again because I'd be very surprised if he doesn't try and bring a Jurrien Timber with his versatility. He's a little young maybe to be thrown into this, but then again, this kid was thrown into World Cup qualifiers and a European Championship, so maybe he can do it. I don't know. But the point I'm getting at here is United, or at least it's been said to me, and maybe guys like the Secret Scout and other people that literally watch these reserve games and these U18 games all day, right, all weekend, they might be able to tell us a little more. But this United academy apparently has some jewels, right? I mean, on the right side, you might be able to give a chance, at least in depth, for depth's sake, until you get your roster right, a guy like Ethan Laird, okay, or in the middle, a tenacious player like Tayden Mengi, okay, at center back. And I love the James Garner shout. I love that you got Garnacho. You've got Shola Shortiri will probably get loaned out. But there's just so many names within there that I would really, really want to see. But
Amad Diallo?
Amad Diallo,
Although I think Erik ten Hag won't take too many risks at the start. But I do think youth integration will be something that will be a stamp, especially if it goes well. But transfers, you said it, Jurrien Timber, for sure is on the list to go to Man United, okay? And we see all the speculation after the talks of Erik ten Hag with United. But I think Pau Torres at Villarreal, that we're going to talk about their shocker. Pau Torres is a very good shout. Unrealistic. Rudiger to go to Man United. Another unrealistic, Jules Condé, but Timber is exactly. But Timber seems to be the player that would accept the challenge. And honestly, the potential of Julian Timber. We were having like doubts. Who was better this season, De Ligt or Timber?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's the level that Timber is. And I think that'd be excellent. An excellent first transfer of Erik ten Hag to Man United. I think it's progressive. I think it's potential. And I think it's right now. He comes and he plays. So it's a start.
I like it too because he can also play on the left and right, although I understand that he can only play one position at a time. I don't know of any player that can successfully play left back, center back, and right back at the same time, but hey. I think another one to throw in there. Probably unrealistic, but before his star rises too fast, a guy like Josko Gvardiol, right? Because you have similar versatility there, but he really is starting to ball out as a center back, right? And he's younger. He fits the mold. Obviously, you and I have a bias towards these younger players, so that's why we're not mentioning maybe more realistic players. Rudiger's a good shout, but Varane. I mean, but you've got Varane, of course, but Gvardiol's another one there. But I do think Jurrien Timber, based on knowing that, and I saw a bunch of comments kind of affirming this, knowing that the CDM is the place where you got to probably start first. You should be able to get the most out of a Harry Maguire until the time he runs till what, 2025?
No,
26?
I don't think he leaves. I think the decision for Maguire, it all depends on him. Like we can't. I think it all depends on what he wants. It's hard, I know. It all depends on what he'll want to do. But like on the CDM that you said, come on, the perfect player. It's so obvious that the talks are happening. The perfect player for Man United. It's Declan Rice. It's Declan Rice. And those transfer fees are like, it's 150 million now. Like everything happens like in the same time as Man United speculation with the coach is happening. So I think Declan Rice would be the dream. But since they can't get him, or they can't
what's the reality? Right.
Exactly. Calvin Phillips is the name shouted a ton. Okay. I wouldn't go for Calvin Phillips instead of Palhinha. Okay. I'm gonna be biased here. I think Palhinha would be good enough. Okay. And Lisandro Martinez. Okay. Like that would be crazy. Again, going to Ajax. But I would go for Palhinha or Declan Rice, but it's very difficult, as I said.
I mean, I look around and it's all about pressuring, the counter pressing. It's all that good stuff for that CDM. Obviously, you have to have a high tackle rate, good discipline. I think early days he's probably gonna give McTominay a go at it. But I honestly believe, come on, Aurelien Tchouameni. He tops the chart. He's young. He can get molded. I just don't know whether or not he's going to be top of Ten Hag's list when it comes down to it. I think there will be a Dutch or a connection that he's going to need to have with his players to feel like he can get something out of them right away. So that's why Tchouameni, while I believe he's still an ideal candidate long term, I could see him poaching a guy like Edson Alvarez. Okay. Edson Alvarez, for me, has been one of the unsung heroes, if not, maybe not even that unsung. He has been phenomenal for Ajax. He's been phenomenal for Mexico, even when Mexico has been insanely inconsistent and just underwhelming to their fan base, which I totally get and feel. The Edson Alvarez shout, I mean, he's always been as consistent can be. He also has flexibility in that he can play center back. Edson Alvarez, bringing him over is not the worst thing in the world if you're not trying to spend 115 million on a Declan Rice, or the 50 or 60 that you're going to have to spend maybe to get Tchouameni, if that, right?
And I got another bold suggestion. I have a bold suggestion. I've done it in the past, and I'll do it again. The bold suggestion, if Erik ten Hag goes to Man United, is a midfield of Donny and convincing to get Frankie de Jong. Okay? Because Barca needs that big-time money. I know he's performing extremely well for Barca. And it's okay if it's not okay. It's understanding if Barca retains him. But it's understanding, too, if they sell him for 70, 80 million. And they trust a midfield with Gavi, Nico, and Pedri, as I've said in the past. And maybe not Nico at the start and Kessié. just arrived. And if Kessie arrives, that should be like an alert for Frankie de Jong, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because everybody knows that Gavi and Pedri are the chosen ones, okay, for that midfield.
Yeah.
So,
no, that's De Jong. I mean, hey, Erik ten Hag is the guy that should probably be credited for getting the most out of Frankie de Jong. I mean, he was playing mostly defense, I think, when ten Hag took over, and he, I mean, he built a lot of that 2018-2019 season around Frankie de Jong, and
can do it.
it's a good thing. It's a good thing he did, because man, was that one hell of a season for the ages. And before we go on, I just want to. I get it. I get, for a lot of people out there, and we could throw it in the comments section, like Eredivisie. Where do you rank it? Top 5 Euro leagues? Probably not. Top 10? Where do you put it in relation to things? Sure, but what Ajax has been able to do with their tactical flexibility, with their high pressing, even taking chances in games in the Champions League, what they've been able to accomplish in the Champions League is very different than obviously the dominance of total football Ajax in the 70s, right? Because now you've got money spent out the wazoo. You've got just these total ridiculous ballers and these tactical systems that have been, just years and years developed. So what Ajax did in the early years of Ten Hag's tenure, and now even this past year with Aller doing what he's been doing, and Tadic and Antony, and the numbers they've been putting up, it's really, really impressive. And while they've won quite a few Eredivisie championships, right? The bigger thing is, and one thing I hope United probably can expect, and this is why probably depth is going to need to be brought in at the striker position for Ronaldo, is that they score goals, man. Like, they score, I don't know a proper term for this, but they score a buttload of goals, okay? I mean, he's topped 110 like multiple times these past few seasons. He's had goal differentials that are ridiculous, even in the Champions League. So you can live and die by that sword if you don't have a cohesive defensive unit. But while we talk about the DM and while we talk about the CB, I think people realize that, right? The focal point is generally going to be on, is there enough defensive support so that the attacking unit can literally just go balls to the wall to get a goal in, right? To get that striker, a guy like Ronaldo, many, many goals a year. So I'm really, really interested. And that's why a Tchouameni, growing into this system, that's why you have to think long term. You can't think the next 6 months with this. This isn't a stopgap. We're never going to see a Sir Alex Ferguson again, but you want somebody that's going to stay longer than 3 years, right?
I agree with you. It's a huge test, and that's what I wanted to end it up with. It's a huge test for Ajax, and it's a huge test for Erik ten Hag equally. Okay, it's a departure. It ends at the right time too. Okay, he had 2 amazing rebuilds at Ajax, and if there's a place that needs a rebuild, it's Man United, and I'm sure he's confident with Ralph Ragnick, because it seems to be the time. And linking up, I see now here in the chat, one and only with an excellent comment saying, "Have you seen the news of Mazraoui and Gravenberch going to Bayern Munich?" And what are your thoughts?
First off, I thought Mazraoui was on his way to Barca. What's going on there? Is Mazraoui? Is he also Raiola?
Yes, I think he is.
Okay. Mazraoui obviously he'd actually be a pretty good shout to come in and give Dalot a run for his money at that right back position. But for United, but him going to Bayern, I guess it makes sense if you're going after Serginho Dest in the past, and you want the hotter ticket right now. Mazraoui can deliver there. I mean, he'd be great. He'd be great at Bayern. He'd be great at Barca. If he can remain healthy, he'd be great at United. If he's really wide open and he's not going to Barca, United might want to throw their money in there. But another one that I just saw here that I did have written down. that would be a nice, cheap addition at that CDM with tactical flexibility and positional flexibility. Definitely Boubacar Kamara. Definitely Boubacar Kamara. And I'm sorry, there you go. Don the Don _ said it, and somebody else. Yep. And then he replied to somebody with it. So that is a great, great shout. I actually had him written down, just not in the place. I'm a big fan of Boubacar Kamara. And I know that the Marseille brass have been trying to like tinker with their lineup to get ready for a Boubacar Kamara, less squad in the future. So anyone would be worth their mind getting. That's a low risk, potential high reward signing. And you put him under the tutelage of a Ten Hag who has patience for that type of development. Although maybe United fans don't. I don't know. He could be massive for them. So anyway, where were we? Because I got sidetracked by not saying Boubacar Kamara.
No, but it's a really good shout to get Boubacar Kamara. If there's anything we haven't mentioned with Man United, please put down below in the comment section. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our YouTube channel.